Imagine this, a ship from the 1800s that was found deserted in the ocean. The ship had no people on board, but all of the crew's belongings were still there. This is a description of the Mary Celeste, a ship that was found abandoned a month after its departure in the late 1800s. Its crew was never found. So what could have happened to the crew? And why did they abandon the ship and all their belongings? That's what we'll be exploring today in this episode of Ryan's World. What happened to the Mary Celeste? Let's start with the voyage. The Mary Celeste set sail on November 7th, 1872 with 1,702 barrels of alcohol cargo and a crew of 7 men, along with the captain Benjamin Spooner Briggs, his wife, and their daughter. The only source of information that we have about the voyage is the ship's logs, which recorded the condition of the journey. According to the logs, the ship was apparently facing difficult weather for 2 weeks until they reached the Azores, an archipelago of Portugal, at 5 a.m. on November 25th. This was the last entry in the log. On December 5th, 10 days after the last log, a British ship called the Del Gradia spotted the Mary Celeste floating 300 miles east of the Azores. The ship was completely abandoned, with all of the crew's belongings still on board. Almost all 1,702 barrels of alcohol were completely untouched, except for 9 barrels that were completely leaked. All the food and water was still present on the ship too, which was reportedly enough to last the entire cruise several months. The only things out of ordinary were the ship's hull, which was filled with 3 feet of water, one of the ship's pumps, which had been dismantled, and the Mary Celeste lifeboat, which was missing. So what could have happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste? Some state that the crew feared that the water found in the ship's hull would cause the ship to sink. However, the 3 feet of water wasn't enough to cause any major damage to the ship, and the crew was known to be experienced, so they wouldn't be silly enough to abandon ship in open sea just for that. Another theory states that the ship was attacked by pirates or a mutiny occurred, but there were no plausible signs of conflict on the ship, and this theory still doesn't explain why the crew's belongings still remained on board. One possible theory was that one of the Mary Celeste's pumps were damaged by the coal dust and construction debris that it carried as cargo during its last journey. The ship was going through harsh weather during its journey, and it would be impossible to tell how much water was in the ship's broken hull due to the lack of a working pump. Therefore, the captain could have decided to abandon ship and take the lifeboat. This also explains why their belongings were left behind, as there wouldn't be much space for them along with the people on the lifeboat. But if the crew abandoned ship and took the lifeboat, then why were they never found? There's many possible reasons for that, such as harsh weather, pirates, or even a lack of food and water, all of which contributing to the possibility of the crew dying at sea. The Mary Celeste is one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of all time, and this is due to its title as the Ghost Ship, as all of its crew seemingly disappeared out of thin air. In fact, many sailors to this day claim that they see apparitions of the ship floating through the sea. Whatever the reason was for the crew's disappearance, Mary Celeste has no doubt sailed its way into the mysteries of our world.